All right, we will now return to open session at 5:42 p.m. and there was no reportable action. Thank you for allowing us to do that. We will now move back to item 6C, discussion and possible adoption of reserve schedule for 25-26.
Okay, I'm going to.
The final audit is approved for the prior year. The board is to consider we 526 reserve schedule that is here, that is attached in compliance with resolution 2024-05. So in the packet, it's we go to page 202. We see that the reserve for operations for the district is going to come in at $2,421,000, with government funds being $240,000, and the enterprise fund being $2,181,000. And this is based on 3 months of operational expenses. The property, plant, and equipment replacement reserve has a target of 3 times the annual depreciation. So with that amount, we get $4,552,000 overall, with $4,343,000 related to enterprise. You'll see the deductions in there. Those are the scheduled repayments of the loans that were withdrawn out of reserves for the water rights purchase in 2012, and then the Antelope Valley. Lost the word for it. The disaster reserve is coming in at $4,996,000, and that has a target of 10% of total assets. So the same thing is where we withdrew some money out of reserve for those 2 loans. The good thing is, at the end of this fiscal year that we're currently in, the repayment of the water rights from 2012 should be fully repaid. So that'll be, this year should be the last one for that. The rate stabilization reserve is coming in at $476,000, with our target, our goal is from 5 to 10, so we're using the minimum 5% of our meter and consumption revenues. So we're looking at total reserves for enterprise of $11,831,000. Government funds has $616,000 for a total of $12,447,000. This is a decrease of $524,000 over prior year. So, any other questions on that?
Right over here, questions? Over here? No questions? All right. All right, well, with that, would someone like to motion?
I'll make a motion to adopt resolution number 2024-05.
Thank you, I will second that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you, motion passes. All right, moving on to 6D, discussion and authorization of funding strategy, Civic Center, and Emergency Operations Project. Mr. Burtz.
Yes, thank you. So one of the things we promised the board, we would come back to the board with how we're going to fund the additional amounts on the administration building. And if you look at where this originally started, it was about $12 million, and that was basically prior to the completed design, scope refinement, and confirming of external funding sources. As it progressed through the design development, the reviews, and the coordination with federal and county funding, the estimated project matured to about $15.4 million. So with I'm going to call it $15.5 million for that entire project. As of December 31st, 2025, about $1.4 million had been spent already. And with that, it leaves a balance of remaining project cost of about $14,121,000. So to break that down a little bit further, the contract, I'm going to round these numbers off. I can go into more detail if you want, but about $12 million for the award bid contract, a contingency of about $1.2 million, FF&E of $250,000. That's the furnishing and equipment. Construction management with CPM was $664,000. And I want to give it to Chuck with that one. Having the construction management firm out there has already saved us numerous delays. Having somebody that's dedicated out there every day, all day, right from the beginning when they started the grading, just differences that come up with, especially with the Joshua Tree plans and everything, having to work around that and how you adjust the grading to accommodate that. In addition to that, I'm working with the school to give access to the property out there. So the construction management, I don't know how you could do a project with the staff that we have. That was a great idea as part of that. And then about $50,000 for the sweepies. And so that leaves about $14.1 million. If you go to page 211, it's kind of broken down on how this is funded. We had $6.4 million on the loan proceeds. Enterprise fund had put in $473,000. Federal grant $1.6 million, $500,000 from the county. The 1.4 we've already spent, and we determined about $5 million makes up the difference. So what we did is we went through with the finance department, and we were looking at all different options, whether we would have to maybe refinance our loan at a lower rate. We had a number of options, but after looking at the balances we have in some of the accounts, we have the government operating fund, and we have $8.4 million in the government operating fund. It's not in reserves, it's the operating fund. You get the property taxes, the trash, the franchise fee for that. So that was a substantial amount of money that we had in the bank for that. So short of reading the entire list, what we're recommending is that we have that money available. We don't know that we're going to need all of that money, but moving basically $5 million available from that account, and that is going to cover contingencies and everything else that we can see with this project. So it does not come out of the park operating fund, which is healthy with $5.5 million in that fund, and the reserves that we also have set aside that you just reviewed prior to this agenda item. So staff is recommending that that the board review and authorize the proposed funding strategy for the previously approved Civic Center and Emergency Operations Center project, and authorize the use of up to $5,010,000 in governmental funds to complete the previously approved funding plan. And we'd be happy to answer any questions you have. There's quite a bit to this, but we're happy to answer any questions you might have.
All right, thank you. I'll start down here.
Just so I'm clear, we had identified when we first awarded that there was $2 million that was going to come out of the Parks Fund and fund the project. Is that included in the $5 million?
Yeah, this is in addition to that. So that is coming out of Parks still, but this is coming out of the government operating fund. So it's separate from Parks.
Where's it reflected on the chart?
It is not on the chart. We
Okay.
probably should have included this. This was our worksheet that we had with that, but it does have the cash balances, and David, you can correct me. David did put these together, but in the water operating fund, we have $1.6 million. Water operating reserves, 2.1, reserve replacements that we talked about, and then we have the two that are not in the reserves are the government operating fund at $8.4 million and park operating fund at a little over $5.5 million. When the district was initially formed, the government fund was subsidizing water. It took a number of years to wean the water operations, which is the enterprise fund, off of the governmental funds. And I believe this is the first year where we're going to actually not have to take any out, or this is like the break-even year for that. So those funds have been accumulating over the years. Included in that is going to be the rental from the dairy properties And that's been going into this operating fund. And David, you can fill in if there's anything else.
I guess to clarify, because I wasn't sure it was stated right, the 5 million is now the contribution from governmental funds. It's not 2.8 plus 5. 5 is the total.
Oh, 5 is
amount.
the, okay.
Yes.
Thank you for correcting me.
So,
And what will the balance of the park fund be if this is approved tonight?
like you said, we won't touch the park funds of, parks and governments kind of works together, right? So the parks fund of roughly 4 or 5 million won't be touched. So then you have combined, it's easier for me to state it this way, combined there's 14 million. Unrestricted cash in the government and parks. Less the 5, you'll still have $9 million. And that's as of 12/31, so you still have some more property tax money coming in this year.
Yeah, and to also back that up too, when we initially started, the park portion of it was it 25%?
Yes.
It was 25%. When it was all said and done, we had the final plans. We're looking at the footages of the building, and the parks actually came out at 35% of the project. So that helps offset that too. So we're not just grabbing from one area. It is actually a percentage of the project.
Thank you.
So there's no additional loans or anything else needed to fund the project.
Jean?
I'm just clarifying again. I think you just said it, but I want to make sure I understood it. So the pie that says government funds, that's parks and it's both, right? It's a split, is what you're saying?
Yes, it will primarily come from the governmental funds. We won't need to touch the parks funds. Like he was saying, government has probably 9 million in it on its own, 9-10 million, and it's on its own.
So when I was looking at this earlier and I added up this pie, I thought it totaled the amount that we needed, the 15.4. Is that the case?
Yes. So maybe I misunderstood that question.
Okay, so when I'm looking at this pie, government funds to me would be not enterprise funds, but it sounds like it's coming from enterprise also?
From the pie does have enterprise pieces in it. Yes, the pie chart.
It does?
Yes.
And is it part of that blue, the lighter blue?
The enterprise fund is the little yellow sliver.
Okay, that's 500, we'll say.
Yes, and then the dark blue portion on the right, which is the loan proceeds, is being repaid by the enterprise fund.
I understood that, but I guess I still don't understand that 5 million. Is it just coming from, it really is governmental funds
Yes.
and not parks?
Just
Parks.
governmental.
Just governmental, which is parks, huh?
Yes, so it's
Now I got
can
it.
be.
Yes.
Thank you.
It's interchangeable.
Okay.
We have enterprise.
I'm there now, I got it.
Yeah.
I got it.
Oh, I'll just stop then. I don't want.
218.
I was putting it with water somehow, and I
Yeah.
got it now. Thanks. I just had to get straight.
Yeah, no,
That's all
that's good.
right.
We want
good.
to be able to have the knowledge of this.
Gotcha.
Okay, over here?
Yeah, I do have a question. So the government funds, I deal mostly with enterprise funds. So the government funds are, what is the makeup of the government funds? It's our tax base, it's the parks fund that we get from the general tax for the parks and streetlight assessments, and what's all in that government fund and how is it funded?
Well, like I said, majority of it is the property tax funds we get coming in. There is the lease revenues from leasing the property, the dairy property. The solid waste revenues is a part of that. Those are probably your 3 largest income sources. There's the parks programs. They don't, they just barely get by. So
And on the government funds, like enterprise funds, are there restrictions on the revenue as it comes in? So whatever comes into the governmental fund versus for parks or streetlights, or however those assessments through the taxes are, that allotment has to stay with that entity within the government fund, or is that one big fund that you get to put together and move funds around? So,
Yeah, I think I can, you want me to grab that?
yes.
Yeah, so we get funds for street lighting and we get property taxes. The street lighting doesn't change very much from year to year. We know, so we set aside that money for that. The governmental funds can be used for anything, but we do have obligations out of those governmental funds. Okay.
okay, thank you. I have no further questions.
Okay. Deborah? All right. And then just because I'm a color-coded person on 212, so the quarter one for 2026, it's teal, but teal is only 500,000. So I'm going to assume that that 2.1 was the 1.6 and the 500 added together?
Are you referring to?
212,
Yes, it is
yeah.
the 500,000 and the 1.6 of the, I guess, darker gray added together.
Yes. Okay, just wanted to make sure.
Yes, and that will come in at the end, and if it's not all needed, it won't be removed.
Okay. Perfect. All right, that was the only question I had. So with that, would someone like to motion?
I'll make a motion for item 6D, Civic Center and Emergency Operations Center funding strategy approval.
I'll second that.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you, motion passes. All right, moving on to item 6E, discussion and possible action regarding purchase of a district skip loader. Mr. Burns.
Thank you. I'm going to throw this one over to Sean.
Thank you, Mr. Bartz. As we remember, back in December, the district experienced an extensive storm that damaged a significant part of our infrastructure, including multiple mainline crossings, requiring significant earthwork for repair and stabilization. Our current fleet includes one case backhoe that operates under a CARB low-use exemption. So we only get that for 50 hours a year. One skid steer that operates under that same exemption, and one Kubota mini excavator. Given the scope and duration of the current and anticipated repair work, we evaluated our efficiency and cost effectiveness of acquiring different equipment versus rentals. So, what's that capital outflow, O&M? We did evaluate like a D6 bulldozer. We do have one currently on rent that's come in quite handy. Considering those upfront costs, operational versatility, the maintenance, and long-term value to the district, based off that evaluation, we determined that a full-size skip loader equipped with a 4-in-1 bucket would provide staff with the greatest versatility in the field. Coincidentally, the cost of a new skip loader is significantly lower than that of a bulldozer. That bulldozer equipment starts at about $300,000 and goes north pretty quick. Whereas a skip loader, somewhat economical at $105,000 plus applicable tax. There's been a lot of discussion here in the last few minutes about reserves. So we're proposing, staff really took a deep dive into the budget, and we're not proposing touching reserves for the purchase of the skip loader. We allocated $220,000 in this fiscal year for well rehabilitation and maintenance, and luckily we haven't had to utilize that. What we are proposing is to utilize some of those funds to the tune of about $110,000 for the purchase of the skip loader. The remaining amount of that funds would stay there for any well work that we do need. We have seen some of our O&M on wells go down. Our wells aren't cycling as much. Well 15, we've been able to start and stop pumps less. That helps with the longevity, and we'll be covering some more here later on. And then for Wes, per section D of our purchasing policy, certain equipment manufacturers have like territorial areas, right? So you're not going to get certain case dealers bidding against other case, or John Deere works on kind of the same principle. So we did try to get as many options, purchase options before us as possible. We've got 5 or 6 there in our attachments. We did look at different manufacturers. Some manufacturers are significantly more money than others, and we landed on, and I apologize, my iPad's loading a little slow. We did land on what staff is recommending this evening for the board to authorize the purchase of a new Case 570N four-wheel drive Tier 4 final skip loader from Sons Avery Machinery. That was the most economical price point. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Questions?
Yeah, I do. Thank you, Sean. I looked at all the proposals, and it looks like you just got proposals. There was no standard RFP written.
Correct.
based on specifications, and then the bidder would have to bid to meet those specs in order to put a bid in. I looked at it, is this an open cab machine?
It is.
Yeah, so my recommendation would be to order a enclosed cab machine. We're in inclement weather. Our staff are exposed to rain, snow, sleet, heat, and I personally ran equipment without enclosed cab, and I think staff warrants that because of the inclement weather. That, you know, any one of the ones that you picked are good manufacturers, Case, Cat, John Deere, you can't go wrong with. But that's all I had to say is just I'm willing to approve more money to get an enclosed cab machine for our staff. So, and I think it's warranted.
Do you know approximately how much the enclosed cab and the air conditioning and heating and the espresso machine are?
I do.
I can tell you've never operated equipment in inclement weather.
No, I understand.
It's $25,000 more for an enclosed cab plus tax on that
Yeah.
25. So you're right about $30,000 more. And that's why staff did bring that proposal, trying to be as economical as possible. And thank you for the consideration.
Yeah.
If that would be the desire of the board, I would be happy to execute that.
I would second Greg's comment for sure. Enclosed cab is so much nicer when you're out there in the wintertime working.
We agree.
We don't need to be falling out from a heat or a cold injury. It'd be better to keep them safe.
Thank you all.
I just had one question. So we haven't had to use the rehabilitation funds.
That is correct.
So what problems can we potentially face if we use them up for this project? Do you foresee any potential of that need?
So there is always that potential. Mechanical things can and will break. It's not if, it's when. If I had a crystal ball, I'd be buying a lotto ticket shortly after this evening.
Of course, but I figured if you
we-
set this money aside, there was probably a,
We would not be exhausting the funds set aside for repair and maintenance of wells or boosters. That would leave us approximately enough to do one. The 220 is about enough to rehabilitate 2 wells. There would be remaining balance enough to do one without dipping into reserves. We're seeing that longevity really extended because a lot less start and stops throughout the year, because some of our bigger wells, like 15 coming online, it's really carrying that burden. We have spare motors that we've been able to acquire through our repair and maintenance over the last few years. So potentially it would just be our labor cost to swap the motor. I can't guarantee that. There is that possibility. So I just want to be very transparent there. That's also, it looked better, in my opinion, bringing a lower price point before the board, because I was looking to spend about half what we had set aside for that repair and maintenance. But if there's the desire of the board, I'm happy to do the desire of the board.
Okay. Thank you. All right.
I'll make a motion.
Yes, but I was also just going to ask, though, that since we're kind of tweaking this based on their recommendations, and I don't want to delay this purchase, for staff, can we approve it with the additional funds?
Yes.
And
Yes,
then
you
do
can.
that? Okay, so,
Yeah, I'll make a motion. I'd like to make a motion to purchase of a district skip loader with the additional funds needed on the lowest bid to add enclosed cab.
I'll second that.
all right, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you, motion passes.
Thank you.
Now, can you have this here by the time we get the rainstorm next week?
Potentially.
Okay.
Think about a loader too.
All right, moving on to item 6F, discussion and possible action to ratify previously purchased materials and authorize additional materials purchased required to drop Section 5 mainline wash crossings. Mr.
Thank you.
Parks.
I'm going to let Sean take this too, but so just to hit it right off the top, the ratification part was for the pipeline that we ordered and has going to be delivered or has been delivered?
Has been delivered.
Has been delivered this week. This is so we can start the crossings, and then the ratification is for the next set of crossings. And I'm going to let Sean discuss that. But the ratification part was the pipeline cost for Trinity.
Okay.
Sean?
Thank you, Mr. Bartz. If you guys could bear with me for just a moment, my iPad's loading. Please. Starting December 24th, the district experienced that same storm event, washing out multiple main lines across the Sheep Creek washing. To reduce the risk of future damage at these locations, staff is proposing to drop section 5 existing pipeline alignments approximately, and loosely, it's written as 12 foot below ground surface in the memo. We'd like to highlight it's not necessarily 12 foot from ground surface. With that said, bulldozer that we have on rent, we actually go in and scrape 4 feet off the top. And then that really reduces how deep we have to dig. So yeah, we'd like to have it that deep, but in reality, we're not having to dig to depthness. This method has been employed at other wash crossings and has really demonstrated the resilience during storm events. Some years ago, I believe it was 9 years ago, we dropped section La Mesa, and that section that we had done previously held up really wonderfully through the storm. To complete this work safely and efficiently, staff's requesting the rental of an 80,000 pound excavator with a 60-inch bucket. This equipment would allow us to properly excavate sloping at a minimum 2-to-1 ratio during installation. The cost of this equipment is $3,500 a week, plus $1,200 for delivery and $1,200 for pickup. So it's about $5,600 for the rental per crossing. Due to the operational necessity and the need to maintain system reliability, materials for the Trinity and Hollister wash crossing were already purchased prior to board consideration. Staff is requesting that the board ratify this purchase and authorize to proceed with the remaining materials necessary to complete the additional wash crossings. The Trinity crossing allows staff to pump from one lane to another. It's pumping redundancy, and that we do not have at the moment. We only have one pipeline capable of getting water up to the tank up at 6A, up here on top of the hill. So that one crossing is really a critical pipeline for operations. The district did adopt Reserves Policy 2024-05, which establishes operating, replacement, rate stabilization, and disaster response reserves to support emergency response and maintain uninterrupted service. Staff has reviewed current budget allocations and identified $220,000 for well rehabilitations that has not been fully utilized this year. Portions of these funds could be reallocated to support storm-related repairs, with the remaining funds preserved for hopefully additional well rehabilitation. This proposal addresses the restoration of these 4 wash crossings destroyed during the storm and one that sustained damage but remained operationally functional. Additional mainline impacts are being addressed separately through the district's request for assistance through the California Office of Emergency Services. And we also wanted to address the board's wish to see. We brought forth a couple proposals, both 8-inch and 12-inch mainline options. So down, and we see proposed material purchases. We have the 8-inch mainline option highlighted versus the 12-inch mainline. So for 8-inch, the total of all repairs would be, or all materials would be about $245,000. And if we were to upsize and go to 12-inch, that would go to about $305,000.
Yeah, the size of the pipe will be determined after they run the hydraulic model to determine the flow, what is needed. So it most likely will be 8, but there's some that could be 12. But we wanted to give you the worst case scenario if it was all 12 or if it was going to be 8-inch, but we won't know until the model is complete.
Okay. Questions? Start? Yeah.
Yeah, no, thank you, Sean, I appreciate it, and taking into consideration, upsizing the line based on what Don says with the hydraulic model, that's gonna be the key determinator on what's required for out there. Something I'd like, I don't even have my mic on, something I'd like to bring up in the future is, instead of having to come back to the board all the time asking for equipment rentals and these different things, when we come around for budget or bring it to committee, we should think about creating open purchase orders with rental companies to where you don't have to come in and ask for requests or, to rent an excavator to do this pipeline job. It should be seamless as far as I'm concerned. And that should be dedicated to the general manager to make that decision based on your need in the field with that, so. And the only other thing that I bring up is with these wash crossings and different things, having dealt with reimbursements through FEMA or state OES or different things, they may want to see stamped and approved engineered plans with that. And so that's something we should take into consideration in our future projects that we do in-house, that we have those plans. Because there may come a time in this district that we might have to sue or do other things, and now we know exactly where our infrastructure is instead of relying on a locator tape or tracer line to find our stuff.
Yeah, and we will have, there's going to be stamped plans for these.
Perfect, thank you.
Deborah, any questions?
When will the hydraulic model be complete? And I'm sure it's for ultimate build-out, correct?
2 weeks.
2 weeks?
2 weeks, yeah. The system is already modeled, but with the changes with the new wells and everything and the way they've changed over the past couple of years, but they are going to specifically key on these areas right here for the hydraulic model to determine that.
And it's ultimate build-out.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. If there's in some of it that we had, going back to our 10-year capital plan that we'd looked at for some of the pipelines, we went with the master plan on that, but those would be paid for by the developer as things are developed. But these should be for build out.
Okay, thank you. I guess tonight we'll just approve it for the maximum amount then and decide what after that.
Yeah,
all done?
my recommendation would be that the board approve it for the maximum amount. And then if we have to take less out of reserves, we would definitely take less out of reserves. And what we would do, it's mentioned, kind of dipped into the well reserves a couple times. We took a chunk out for the first part of it, but I'd like to leave those funds in there available, and we'll take the least amount that we can. And if we don't use the funds, that can be transferred over into reserves.
Thank you.
Gina?
I did have a question. Probably going to talk myself into a circle again. Here we go. So we were talking about the emergency funds from the county or state or someone. These are not going to be submitted? There was other projects for that? Or was this potentially?
These have
Possibly.
already been submitted.
These have been submitted?
So
to them.
there may be a
So there
reimbursement
could be a
for that.
reimbursement.
Yeah.
Okay. I just thought I heard the opposite a minute ago, so that's why I wanted to make
The
sure.
district submitted an application to Cal OES for $2.7 million for the reimbursement of, is an entirety, including pipelines that were destroyed in other areas. This addresses 5 crossings. This does not address in its entirety all of the damage. That is, we're still analyzing, and here hopefully in a week or two when the model's done, impacts at areas such as La Mesa and Colorado. This does not address that. This gets the system, reestablishes pumping lanes that are critical to operations to get through summer.
Okay. And then secondly, I don't remember the term, but after this first happened, Greg mentioned something about some kind of casing that could be put over in addition to the depth. Is that something
We did look at that. That would increase our costs substantially.
substantially? Okay.
This is the cheapest, most cost-effective method that we've employed successfully. We did not look at like jack and bore or casing. This would be ductile iron. There is, at the Trinity crossing, there is a casing that penetrates the wash berm. We're going to utilize the existing casing in place, but this is non-cased.
But we feel like the depth is what's going to save it.
The depth will
Okay.
be
Thank
its
you.
saving grace.
Okay.
And yes, and thank you, Director Snyder. The materials themselves, this is not plastic or asbestos concrete. This is ductile iron. The one pipe during our presentation, we had a little segment in here that it's the same material. So while it's not impervious to rock and sand, it does take a beating and comes back. It holds up pretty well.
Yeah, if the wash were to erode that deep, there would be a lot more problems. I think Sean mentioned we had done one of the past to that depth, and we had no issues with it. It just doesn't scour that deep.
We'd be bored in the arc.
Yeah.
How much rock did you hit down there when you put that last one in? It seems like there's gonna be a lot of rock and you have to deal with a lot of material.
There's a substantial amount of rock, and that's why we have proposed that 80,000-pound excavator with a 5-foot bucket. Yeah, you run into some large boulders, and that's why we don't feel like our current backhoe is just not adequate. We can't move enough material, and we found some really large boulders that our equipment that we feel just cannot lift. It's in that wash. There's the potential we run across anything.
And then we have money for fill material on top of the pipe in here in this
We'll
estimate?
screed the sand in place and backfill with native, because there is a lot of good sand in there, and we screed it and backfill with the sand.
Good. Have fun.
Thank you.
Well, I'm going to stop going last because you guys ask all my questions. So, I mean, that basically I had the same questions. I just wanted to make sure that, we weren't trying to save money, now and not rebuild this to where it will withstand that, 500-year flood that we're planning for. So,
I think that cost difference that you're talking is doing the work in-house as opposed to hiring a contractor to do it. If they come through, the county comes through, or the OES comes through with the 2.7?
$2.7
It comes
million.
with the 2.7, we may sit back and watch the contractors do it, but we'll already have the pipe.
sounds good. All right. Well, if no further questions, would someone like to motion? Greg's had his limit. Somebody else do it.
Make a motion. I moved down to the next item. I could do it, but I don't want to call it. Gonna fail me now.
I know.
Pipeline materials, here it is. I'd like to make a motion to approve ratification of previously purchased materials and authorize additional material purchases required to the drop section 5 mainline wash crossings.
All right, I will second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you, motion passes.
Thank you.
Moving on to item 6G, adoption of ordinance 2025-02, sunshine ordinance and board member teleconferencing policy. Mr. Burtz.
Thank you. Amy is going to take this one.
All right.
Thank you. All right, so this is for our sunshine ordinance. We regularly review the ordinance, and there has been, since the last time we adopted it, there was some state laws governing remote participation and teleconferencing under the Ralph M. Brown Act that was amended. So with the updates that were effective at the beginning of 2025, prompting legal counsel to recommend corresponding updates to the district sunshine ordinance. The ordinance 2025-02 updates and supersedes the district's prior sunshine ordinance and establishes consolidated requirements for the conduct of board and committee meetings, including agenda preparation, posting, public comment, and meeting cancellation and remote participation. This ordinance incorporates Exhibit A, board member teleconferencing policy, which provides detailed procedures governing when and how the board members may attend meetings remotely. The policy addresses standard teleconferencing procedures, alternative teleconferencing for just cause, and emergency teleconferencing during a declared state of emergency consistent with recent amendments to the Brown Act. Revisions recommended by legal counsel are shown as highlighted edits in the attached ordinance and Exhibit A for ease of board review. Together, the ordinance and Exhibit A are intended to maintain transparency, ensure public access, and clearly document the district's compliance with applicable statutory requirements while reflecting updates recommended by legal counsel. And the staff recommends that the board adopt ordinance 2025-02, establishing the updated guidelines for the conduct of public meetings and activities, and adopt Exhibit A, board member teleconferencing policy, which is incorporated by reference into the ordinance.
Awesome. All right, any questions? No questions? All right, I'll take this one. I motion to adopt ordinance 2025-02.
I'll second that.
All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you, motion passes. Moving on to 6 H, discuss an impossible adoption of Resolution 2026-04, updating the district's cash handling policy. Mr. Bartz.
And Amy is going to take this item also.
Thank you. So the district's cash handling policy, policy number 4061, was last comprehensively updated in June 2022. The main things that we're looking to update is to bring everything up to date with our new credit card machines. Excuse me. The summary of the proposed changes includes expanded payment methods, adding American Express as an accepted credit card, formalizes the acceptance of the tap-to-pay mobile wallet transactions, and establishes specific refund procedures related to the tap-to-pay, and then clarification of refund procedures, and sorry. And then the deposit frequency and cash control enhancements and administrative and organizational updates. And the staff recommendation is that the board review and approve the proposed updates to the cash handling policy to reflect current payment practices, improve internal controls, and clarify refund and deposit procedures.
All right, thank you very much. Any questions? No? All right, would someone like to motion?
I'll motion for the adoption of Resolution 2026-04, updating the district's cash handling policy.
I'll second.
All right, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you, motion passes. Moving on to 6I, update on district projects. Mr. Cardenas?
Thank you, President. You know, I was kind of going through the packet here referencing the project schedule, construction schedule. I'm not sure if I've seen it, but Director Hayes, did you find the schedule?
I'm having problems with
Yeah.
my iPad right now.
Yeah, I couldn't find it, so I believe it never made it, though it was provided. So I will give you a breakdown of the work in the next couple of weeks. We are working on the underground utilities. The permit has been pulled, and they will start with plumbing here in the next few days. That'll be followed by fire service, race communications, frontier, gas, and the Edison conduit. In early March, the pad should be ready for footing excavation. So got to get those utilities in before we get going on the footing excavations for the pad. With the coming storm on Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday, the project could be stalled for a couple of days. I think there's 1 inch for Monday and 1/10 for each of the other days. Monday being a holiday, the contractors, they do not observe the holiday. They don't take the day off. But they might not be on site pending the storm. The parking lot to the limits north of the enhancement project will be closed beginning Tuesday, the 17th, if weather permits. The parking lot will be demoed for the installation of the 24-inch storm drain. The Joshua tree, as everybody knows, I love the Joshua trees. The revised incidental take permit application was submitted. The state environmental scientists visited the site last week, Wednesday, and performed a site visit for the mitigation on the impact to the Civic Center project. There was determined that there's 22 Joshua trees, and of those 22, 5 are dead. They both, alive and dead, need to be mitigated. There is a fee for the ranges of below 1 meter, between 1 to 5 meters, and 5 meters above. 1 meter is 3 feet, anything below 3 feet. And 5 meters is 16 feet. There are a total of 15 Joshua trees that fall within the 1 to 5 meter, the 3 feet to 16 feet, and 7 under 3 feet. The mitigation for a tree for under 1 meter is $350. Between 1 and 5 meters is $521. If you tally that up, we should be getting an invoice for $10,309.50 for 22 trees. The trees that are impacted for the Civic Center sit on the northeast corner of the 14-acre project, which is our future retention basin. It seems though we're going to get an invoice here real soon. They've contacted the county to get the current NOD for the environmental document. Apparently the one they had is for another location. So there was a typo at the county, so they're issuing a new number to then issue us an invoice and provide us with the permit. So good news, we'll have a permit to mitigate those Joshua trees, and we thought maybe 4 months that would be touching that northeast corner. Looks like it'll be much sooner than that. I have nothing more for the Civic Center. If you have any questions. No. Phelan Park enhancement. The two 5-inch Edison conduits were installed last week on the east end of the project. The only item pending for the install to complete their portion is the crossing on Warbler Road for the conduit, for the tie-in to the above overhead, and the installation of the pull box, which is on the north end. The pull box is a 3x5 vault, per se, and that'll be used to tie in the Civic Center project with that conduit. That delivery is probably in the next few days, if not next week. Of course, we're working on the conduits and utilities for the Civic Center. They're waiting for that vault so their electrician can tie into that. For the park also, the trench for the wall footings has been completed, and we're just waiting for the delivery of that vault for them to move forward with the footing and the wall on the east side. There's nothing more on the park enhancement, if you have any questions. I don't want to say this is a project, but we received notice from county regarding the Phelan Sheep Creek Wash Bridge. There's damages that were impacted in the storm, and that would include the removal and replacement of the damaged guardrail, shoulder repair, AC dike installation, and on the concrete cutoff walls, there's some excavation and replacement of the rock riprap. That work is to begin in April, so could be a few weeks for that work to be completed. And we just received notice of impact of any utilities along that portion of Phelan Road. It will not impact our pipe at all. So, with that said, I have nothing more to add.
I think Sean would like to give an update on the well progress.
Thank you, Mr. Bartz. We'd like to give the board an update on well 16. I regret to inform the board that we are not getting the 400 to 600 gallons a minute that we anticipated out of that well. Rather, we're getting 1,260 gallons a minute out of that well. We have maxed out the test engine and test pump that are on site. We have seen the specific capacity, so that is gallons per minute per foot of drawdown, increased from about 2, we're at 5.7 and improving almost every day. We're seeing about 220 foot of drawdown for that 1,250, 1,260 gallons a minute. On startup, we're seeing it over 1,300 GPM. We just in the last 30 minutes got the second round of samples, so that's the first piece of the puzzle. It's finding water, right? Second piece of the puzzle is water quality. So staff has been taking samples at every stage. Every day of development, we're taking samples. We placed a rush on it, hoping to bring some results tonight, and we have our second set just came in 30 minutes ago. First chromium samples that came from the well was a 1.4 part per billion. The second one was a 0.4. Fluoride, 0.22. Second one, 0.22. MCL's 2. Arsenic, first sample was 2.3. Next sample is 2.7 parts per billion. That's not even a home run. This is a grand slam. This well has the potential to be the district's largest well. And it also, in proximity to infrastructure, is in a critical piece of the district. We got extremely fortunate where we're at and the quantity of water this is delivering. What staff is running into while we're test pumping and developing this is actually a problem I've never encountered in Phelan. We have too much water. I'm not allowed to discharge to ephemeral streams. We've been trying to work with Lahontan to allow us to pump into dry creeks that, as of today, aren't dry. Unfortunately, they declined my request this evening. So if anybody's been by the fill station at well 16 lately, you're noticing a series of berms going up. Those berms are not a grow. Those berms are us. They're earthen embankments to hold the water as we're developing this well. This is the largest, best producing well we've seen in Phelan. The water quality parameters continue to improve almost every day. There's a couple of anomalies coming out of it. We are seeing the water warm up. The strata is unlike, I'll be honest, when we saw the E-logs come out a month ago, I was very nervous. We turned the test pump on, and anybody that knows me knows I was even more nervous. But it has come very naturally. And if we remember 2 weeks ago at a board meeting, you guys were kind enough to approve that extra $150,000 in development. I believe that is beyond paying off in spades. From what I know in the strata out here, it's really made development during test pumping a breeze. We're not fighting clays like we anticipated. We're not fighting water quality as of right now. Again, these are preliminary samples, but these are taken as a combined effluent in a worst case pumping scenario, doing exactly what we're doing, and we're seeing these numbers very low. I'm not seeing it stratified like we find it some other areas of the district. So just very, very good news coming out of it. We will continue to test pump and develop. As it's getting better and improving, you don't walk away while it's improving. Unfortunately, the drive shaft blew apart for the test engine day before yesterday. It'll be going in late tomorrow, and we're going to resume Friday. In the contract, they still owe us about 2/3 of a day of development by virtue of just surging. That's improved us from about 300 GPM, taking us up to 1,300 GPM. We have maxed out the test pump and test engine that are on site. We're running it at capacity. I don't feel it warrants bringing in a larger one. The data does not suggest that you're going to make a quantum leap from 1,300 gallons a minute up to 1,700. I don't think the strata will support it. But we are seeing the continued development of the deeper perfs. We're still getting a little bit of sand. The drawdowns still getting better, so decreasing. And it recovers more quickly than any well I've seen in Phelan. We've gotten the turbidity down below a 10, which again, all signs point to, not a home run, but like a grand slam in the top of the 15th inning. You know, we couldn't be more pleased with what we're seeing. We did order the casing and gravel envelope for well 18 this morning. We did see some finer material. Wells are kind of like people. They all got their own personality. Well 18 would probably be the best candidate in the district for a long screen well. We opt against that because we need blanks in that casing to be able to bounce off of or manipulate operationally. Well 18 shares a lot of similarities with well 15, but has a finer degree of sand. So we are very hopeful that there's water in the hole. And until we kick the test pump on, we don't know exactly how much yet. But yeah, so good news continues to come out of the field, hopefully offsetting the bad news we had a month or two ago. So I'm happy to answer any questions. But as you see the berms going up there by the fill station, that will become a lot of water. Next week we get into our extended run tests. So we run the well at 72 hours as we ramp up because we determine its safe yield. What is it capable of producing 72 hours long, because that's what we're going to do to it for its lifetime.
Yeah, Sean,
sorry?
I said your safe yield.
Our safe yield. Right now, I would estimate that somewhere between 800 and 1,000 GPM. With the drawdown I see, my comfort level with dewatering casing is probably greater than others in the world, just knowing our strat a little bit. And we're only dewatering 210, 220 foot of casing to get 1,260 GPM. So as we determine that safe yield, we will anticipate bringing before the board here, hopefully in the next month, the purchase for the pump, motor, and VFD. because where this well lies operationally, this would become the lion's share of the district's water.
Sean, you were saying that you think when this is all said and done, it'll produce somewhere in the range of 800 gallons per minute, possibly up to 1,000
Yep.
on a regular basis. And what does well 15 produce, which was our best well prior to this?
715 to 800.
Yeah. So the last couple of wells that we've done have been wonderful, like grand slam, as Sean says. And this is probably better than the last one.
Thank you. Yeah, go ahead.
Question and a comment. On the well that you're developing right now, how much gravel have you had to make up in the gravel pack since you drilled the well?
Less than 10 gallons. I measure it in 5-gallon buckets.
Okay.
About 4 inches.
Gravel makeup?
Yeah.
Okay, good. And then secondly, you talked about well 18 and the strata that's in the borehole from sampling in the well screen. That could be mitigated by the type of gravel pack you put in that well and screen combination, so.
I'm happy to share. We opted to go with a full flow louver in a .055 slot size with a Tacna gravel pack 8-on-20.
Perfect.
So I think that will mitigate some of those fines.
Yeah.
It's not quite as fine as silt, and it's not the finest sand out there, but it's pretty fine. But we're hopeful that we will hit pay dirt over there too.
Are the fines in the formation or are they part of the drilling?
Roscoe Moss fell as though there could have been some sampling bias.
Yeah, okay.
And I'm not, take that for what you will. Both, I believe, occurred. I do believe it's in the formation because E-logs don't lie. But in the sieve analysis samples, we believe there may have been a hint of bias, and that's why we opted the 8-on-20 gravel pack. And then we went, what is the risk tolerance the district? And I'll just be very front, I'm risk adversive. I would rather sacrifice a little bit of production than fight sand for the lifetime of a well. And that is the route we opted to go.
Yeah, perfect. All right, thank you, Sean. Great work.
I just have a comment. I went out to a tour last week with Sean and very impressed with the setup. The amount of water was impressive, and trying to figure out where it's going to go is quite the feat to have to figure out. I'm happy to have that problem in the other, the opposite end of it. Thank you, Sean, for a wonderful tour.
Over here? Okay. You're good? Good. All right. Maybe next time don't start out with, I regret to inform. Kind of had a little bit of a heart attack there, and then I'm like, that,
He was smart.
I know,
He said
nice,
that.
nicely done, nicely done. Yeah.
Even in our conversations with Mark Roberts, who's been doing this for 50 years, we pegged that site for somewhere between 350 and 400 gallons per minute. And I fought hard not to drill that well for a long time, but kudos, you nailed it.
You don't know what you have until
Nice. All right, moving on to item 7, committee reports. Engineering?
We already reported on the last meeting. We meet again tomorrow.
All right.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, tomorrow.
Wow, time flies. Yeah. Finance Committee, we went over the audit report, which you saw, and anything else, Chuck? I think that was pretty much it, right? Yeah, all right. Legislative?
We meet in March? Is that when we're due to meet? I think that's what it was, said March.
Okay. Yeah, we haven't met yet. Park and Rec?
Yeah, we met yesterday first time, and I'll be the chair of the committee, and we reviewed the committee roles and responsibility, the 10-year capital plan for 26-27. We reviewed discussion on parks and recreation events, which is packed full this year, so everybody that's out there watching, please come and attend our events that we have. And then we got an update on the farmer's market, update on the teaching garden, and then update on the community park. And then we'll meet again here in a few months.
Okay. And Waste and Recycling?
We're scheduled to have a meeting here in the near future. One hasn't been scheduled yet.
Perfect. All right. Staff and General Managers Report, anything to add?
I have nothing to add.
All right, and then director's reports. Greg?
I have nothing to report, and thanks for staff in presenting the budget information and award. Congratulations.
Deborah?
Besides the tour with Sean, that was absolutely informative and nice to see a big positive for us. I attended the TAC meeting last week, and they went over the numbers from the storm. It looks like it's a 230-year storm is what we faced over Christmas. So that was quite wow. They had a lot of noise. I'd recommend going back and looking at, for any of you, what Tony had put together. It's quite a long presentation of slides that has a lot of data in it.
Thank
That's
you.
it.
All right, Gina?
It was great to attend the groundbreaking, and thanks for all the good news. It's good stuff here.
And Chuck?
No comment, thank you very much.
All right. And my report, yep, thank you everyone who attended the groundbreaking ceremony yesterday. It was amazing, minus the weather. Really appreciate that. All right, and then correspondence and information, Ms. Williams?
We have a couple of our flyers that go out in the bills related to water leaks, and then for a Valentine's Day paint party class on February 7th.
All right, and review of action items. Were there any prior meeting action items?
There was 2, but it looks like they were both completed.
All right, and current meeting action items.
I have none noted.
All right, and then we will set the agenda for the next meeting, February 25th. Does anyone have anything they would like to add to that agenda? No? All right, great. All right, and then with no further business before the board, we will adjourn at 6:43 PM. Thank you.